What's up, everybody? Scotty from CT Charger here. Today I want to talk a little bit about my channel, what some of the references are to the 50th anniversary of the Charger, and why I have pictures of an old Charger in there. And before I do that, though, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm in my early 50s. I work in IT. I got a beautiful wife, two beautiful daughters. I like football, cold beer, rock and roll. My favorite color is magenta. So enough about me. Let's talk about cars. So in this video I'm going to give you a little history of the first generation Chargers. That's 1966 and 67. Most people know very little about those cars. They were really overshadowed by the second gen Charger that started in 1968, which you see in a lot of the movies like Fast and Furious. But the first gen Chargers were really pretty cool cars. And most people, especially you young guys, have never even really seen one up close, in person. And if you have seen one, even fewer of you have actually had a chance to look in one. And even fewer at that have had a chance to sit in one or drive in one. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to show everybody what these cars are like and why my channel is dedicated to the 50th anniversary of the Charger. In the early 1960s, Chrysler Corporation needed to compete against very popular sports cars like the Mustang and Corvette. They released the Plymouth Barracuda in 1964, but Dodge had no such offering in their lineup, and Dodge dealers were pressuring Chrysler to release something similar under the Dodge badge. Chrysler did not want another model to compete with their own Barracuda, so they chose to design a car that sat somewhere between these smaller sports cars and the larger luxury sports cars like the Thunderbird and Bonneville. AMC Rambler was having some sales success with the fastback design of their Marlin at the time, so with that the Dodge Charger was born. The Charger was a marvel of engineering. It had full-length grille with no exposed lights. The turn signals were hidden at the end of the grille, and the headlights rotated to display separate high and low beam lights. And when I say rotated, I mean rotated. The entire headlight assembly was driven by electric motors that spun the assembly 180 degrees when the lights were turned on. At the rear end was a tail light spanning the width of the car with Charger emblazoned across. The first-gen Chargers were in fact the only early-gen Chargers that had full-length tail lights like the current generation Chargers. And when the turn signal was engaged, one entire half of the tail light flashed. The interior was equally impressive. It had an outrageous dashboard that wasn't lit by typical bulbs, but rather by electroluminescent display that extended to the AM radio and an optional center console mounted clock. The Charger included front and back bucket seats, with a center console extending to the rear seats. Each of the rear seats, as well as the center armrest, folded down, and when combined with a fold-down trunk hatch, enabled a serious amount of storage as well as enough room for a full-size adult to lay prone. The 1967 model year offered only minor adjustments that included exposed front turn signals as well as an elimination of the full-length console into a more standard rear seating area. The Chargers came with several engine offerings, from the base 318 two-barrel to the venerable 426 Hemi. 1966 was the first year that Chrysler offered the street version of the 426 racing Hemi engine that dominated NASCAR at the time. One of the typical complaints of the first-gen Chargers is they really didn't look that aggressive. Well, let me tell you that a nice pair of mag wheels, big tires, and a jacked-up rear end made these cars look plenty aggressive. So why all the focus on the first-gen Chargers? Well, because my first car was a 1966 Dodge Charger. I bought it in the mid-80s from the original owner and promptly put some 11-inch wide Keystone Classic wheels in the rear with big tires and air shocks that allowed me to lift the rear end. It had the base 318 engine, but I didn't care at the time. I just loved the design of these cars. But that's not the whole story. I became interested in these cars because my best friend had a '67 Charger before me. And on one of the many rides I took in that car, I said to him, "Man, I gotta get me one of these cars." Being the good bud that he was, he located a 66 for me, and the rest is history. We had many great times bringing these cars to parties together and parking them side by side, and boy did they cause a stir. So what does the future hold? I would love to see Dodge bring back the full-length grille design of the early gen Chargers. And although a two-door Charger will likely never happen, the grille design would be the best thing Dodge could do to embrace the designs of the past. So for now, I'm just going to have to keep on loving the front end of my current 2015 Dodge Charger RT. And what's the best part of this story? Well, my buddy still has his 67 Charger. He's since painted it red and swapped out the 383 with a 440 Magnum. But it's been garage kept all these years, and on my next visit home, I'm going to beg him to take me for a ride so I can take a real-time video of that car in action and post it on YouTube.